All right, all right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Transcend with And I am super excited because we have Ashley Nardello here with us today, sharing about her story, how did she get here, and a little bit about her business because we want to know, how she made it. So, Ashley, welcome to the show. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you so much for having me, Monica. I appreciate the opportunity. I am always grateful to speak with women who share the same vision.
Of course, of course. So we dive right in here. It's not a lot of fluff. It's very real. So one of the reasons I feel attracted of bringing you in the show is because you are a light. You show up and you're always smiling. You are all about embodying empowerment. So tell me a little bit about who you are and why you do what you do.
Well, I obviously, as you know, I'm an empowerment specialist. It's what I do. I am what I call like a professional hype girl. Essentially, I take women that are on any step of their journey and help them through their healing process. And what I do specifically is photography. I'm sure all of you women have heard of boudoir photography before. And that type of photography specifically is something that takes you from a place of feeling less confident and less powerful, and it boosts you and it almost propels you into a place where you are taking that same energy and taking that same power and using it in other places in your life. So I was drawn to this because I got there myself. I have three kids. My oldest is 14, and about after 10 years in the wedding industry, I said to myself, this is something for a lot younger people. And I found myself feeling uninspired. I was completely bored. I was looking for something that gave me a spark of passion. And someone suggested to me to have my photo taken. And so I did. And I had my own photos done. And that was my opportunity to be like, oops, sorry, my notebook over here. That was my own opportunity for me to feel that moment of, this is really transformational, and it can help people that are stuck in that gap of feeling like they've lost their power, and specifically the femininity. Getting that back gives you so much control that we don't normally have in our everyday pocket. So I feel like that's a part of why I, ended up down this path, is that I was a mom who was uninspired and bored myself. I needed something to give me that boost and feeling like I was still, pardon my language, but a badass and somebody who could rein in the power, but also be in control of my own life. And I didn't know what I needed to feel that way. And for me, it was seeing myself in a photo where I felt like looking at that person. If I didn't know myself, all the adjectives I would use to describe that person were a badass, empowered, strong, powerful, capable, confident. And I was like, why am I the only person who doesn't see those things? And it's because you don't feel them. So it's about connecting the image with the feeling and bringing that out together in your everyday life.
I love it. I love it. And you don't have
Excellent.
to say sorry for expressing yourself or being who you are. It's totally fine. This
It's who I am.
podcast is uncensored, so you're good. You can just be who you are. It's totally fine.
I love it. Perfect. Perfect.
So
That's great.
I love that because I mean sometimes in Boudoir is something very different, right? It's
It
not like you are
is.
showing
It
up
is.
on like working clothes or just to take your selfie or anything like
Exactly.
that, or something that you
Exactly.
will just pose smiling and like, hey, here
No.
I am.
Yep. Yep.
So I find it that it's very uncomfortable, right? Like if
Yes.
I
You
were
know
to
what it
do,
is?
I've never done it. So if I were to do it for the first time, I assume that most people get to your studio and they're like, or you get to their homes or whatever places that you are doing the photo shoot, and most of them must be like either shy or um kind of like, I don't know if I can show this, I don't know
Sure.
if my body is fit for this. So tell
Sure.
me, how do you work with women to gain that confidence to get that first picture taken, because it's nerve breaking.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'll tell you what is completely, I think it's unique to my process because I need this for myself. I'm an information sponge. So whenever I'm about to and embark on a new endeavor myself, I want to learn as much as I can about it. So I offer that to my clients. Before they come to me, we go through what's called a baddie boot camp. And it's kind of like an affirmation, self affirmation, you know, phase of your life before you do the shoot. So you're in the mindset of being ready for this. And it's a huge FAQ where you go through and you answer a bunch of questions. And
Yeah.
based on those questions, I kind of figure out where your insecurities are. And then we work
Mhm.
together to work through them. Of course, it's not about highlighting those areas of your body because we don't want to do that. But a huge part of it is getting the courage. And people think, oh my goodness, I don't have the confidence to do this. And when in reality, the confidence comes from showing up. You get there, you do the photo shoot, you see the images, and then you're like, whoa, you feel that boost of confidence after you leave and you're out the door. But you know what most women do when they see these images is they go through imposter syndrome. And that is what happens to women when they see the bodies and they think, my body doesn't look like that. And I can't look like that because I don't look like those women. So think about it. In the professional world, we deal with it on an educational or a pedigree level where we're like, I may not have a master's degree. I may not have a PhD. I may not be as educated as my, you know, peers next to me. So how do I fit into this realm? And the same is true for your body, right? We look at things online all the time about women's body image and how women should look and how people should hold themselves. And we think, what if I don't fit up to those standards? So we have that imposter syndrome, right? But a huge part of working with me is coaching your body positions, your breathing techniques, your facial expressions, where to put your hands. And so I'm never leaving you hanging. And I think from the first shoot, from the first moment where we take that first shot or two, you are right away reaffirmed by having me show you images so you kind of know what's going on. And also you'll feel comfortable in this situation because you're coming into my space generally. I have a studio located in Worcester, Mass. You come into my space, the lighting is exactly, perfect. And you come in, you sit down, I show you the pose myself, I tell you what to do. And then if it's not working, we refine it. We, take small adjustments and make it work for you. So everybody doesn't fit into a box, of course, but
Yeah.
the idea is when you work with someone who's a professional body coach and a professional posing coach, excuse me, then you're able to walk right in and say, I don't know how to do this, but hopefully my onboarding process has built the trust that you know that you're in good hands when you come into my place.
So really the photography is the result of learning how to love yourself.
It's a part of the process.
It's part of
It's a
the
part
process.
of the process.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I'm not saying you're going to come into the photo shoot like feeling, super uncomfortable and then come out
No,
a new person.
but
But
given your onboarding
yes,
process, you
exactly.
turn more confident and loving yourself
Exactly.
more than probably you probably what you doing
Absolutely.
before, right? Because it takes
Absolutely.
courage, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because you know what a lot of the time happens is women will find themselves wanting to do this because of something going on in their life. They're in a transitional phase, right? Usually they are there's some event coming up like an anniversary or a birthday, or maybe they're getting married, maybe they're getting divorced, maybe they've lost weight, maybe they've gained weight, maybe their body has changed, they've had babies. So we're all in a phase. And sometimes you're not sure how comfortable you are till you know all the information. So going back to what I said before, the onboarding process,
Mhm.
that is so filled with information that if you're looking for something and maybe you're feeling it, I want you to know the answers are there. And also, I'm an open book. Women call me all the time. I'm an avid texter and they say, hey, what about this? And what if I don't do that? And what if I don't own any lingerie? And I'm like, fine. They're like, what if I'm more masculine presenting and I'm not super feminine and I don't want to take pictures in lingerie? That's fine too. A huge part of the process is figuring out what works for you and then going with that.
Mhm.
It's not just to fit you into the puzzle piece thing. It's like,
Yeah.
it's more of a and again going back to the self-love, you have a you have a process of healing. So
Mhm.
just the first step is making the contact to someone who is going to be receptive to you along that journey. So if you
Mhm.
contact me, you're in the process where you said, listen, I want to feel better about myself. Someone or something drew me to this. Usually it's seeing, one of your friends' pictures, or maybe you see me on TikTok and you're like, I wonder if I could do that. And sometimes it's that they haven't met the right photographer. They've had a consultation or they've spoke to someone and they don't feel 100% like that's the person they want to
Mhm.
trust with their, with their transformation. And I completely get that. But I will say that that's a huge part of like working with me is if we're not comfortable and you're not comfortable yet, you'll know that, you know what I mean, before you
Mhm.
get into my studio. So you'll take
Yeah.
some more time to do the process, go along with the self affirmations, work on yourself a little bit more before you come in, because
Yeah.
we're not therapists. We can't, resolve years of drama, trauma, and we're not trauma dump sponges. So it's hard if you've got issues like body dysmorphia and stuff like that. Those are things, obviously, I would totally suggest you go see a professional for the start of your transformation. But when you're beyond that point, you're like, shit, this is my body. I'm accepting
Yeah.
it how it is. I'm never going to look like how I looked in high school.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Of
My
course.
process was coming from a household where I was not really complimented a lot as a child. My mother was dealing with addiction and she was too busy trying to worry about herself and deal with herself. So I found myself in a lot of situations where I didn't get complimented, whether it was not just physical appearance, but it was in everyday aspects of life. So I grew to feel like I was in a little box of where when I wanted to scream out and say, look at me, I did something good, I felt like, that wasn't
Yeah.
okay, or who would listen to that. So getting to a place in my life where I'm saying, look at me, I've come from feeling like a sheltered, didn't want to be very sexual or overly sexual or expose my body in any sort of way, to someone who helps women fall into a place where they feel comfortable expressing their sexuality. They know that it's not a form of promiscuity or, whatever negative connotations.
Mhm.
It's an expression of art and it's expression of love, for sure,
Yeah. I love
for
it.
sure.
So let's talk about your experiences of transformation with women that you have done this for.
Absolutely,
You don't have to
absolutely.
mention names, of
No,
course. We don't want to put them out there
sure.
because we haven't asked their permission. But I am interested, right? Like you talk about your onboarding process. You talk
Yes.
about, what we can accomplish with it. But I want to hear about,
What have women done? Sure,
yeah, and,
absolutely.
and from your perspective too, like what is that what fills you from doing this and seeing them achieve that level of transformation? I think that's very,
Absolutely.
very important for us to talk about.
Absolutely. So let's talk about it. There's two sides to it. Okay. There's the single woman side, and then
Yeah.
there's the married woman side. So
Yeah.
from or in a committed relationship side. So the single women that I see, their transformation comes in the form of confidence, where you might see them more able to feel confident about going into job interviews, and things that I've seen personally from people in my life that have had a boudoir session is they use those images as a catapult, like to get on a pedestal where they're comfortable with putting themselves out there, because it's that
Mhm.
first step of vulnerability, you know what I mean, that gets them to the place where they can say, in other situations, they draw back on that confidence, because that's what
Yeah.
self-love is. And that's what affirmation is you have to repeat the process in a bunch of different ways that
Mhm.
are extremely break you down, take courage and vulnerability, and then you use those in other areas of your life. So a lot of them, I'm going to be real with you, a lot of them let go of what's not serving them anymore, whether
Mm.
that's an old job, whether that's a relationship, whether
Yeah.
that is family memberships that aren't serving them anymore, that are more of a drain on them than a benefit. And I see that because the confidence doesn't just come from the picture, it comes from the action. You're taking the steps that lead to that confident woman, that lead to that place of feeling powerful enough to say that. So it's the puzzle that's coming together. And one of those steps is looking at an image of yourself and saying, she is worthy. she is
Mm.
worthy. And we can't always do that when we're holding our cell phones like this. And we can't always do that when we're perfectly posed in our little ways we do with our girlfriends, with the little selfie sticks or whatever. And it's not something that we can, you know what I mean? And it's not something that we can do when a normal picture is taken of us all the time either. Because you'll have a normal picture taken of you. And what do we always think? Oh, I hate that picture. Like,
Yeah.
that wasn't a good picture of me. Or,
I'm
oh,
horrible at
only I.
taking selfies and stuff like that. Like I can't do it.
Listen, I understand. And the thing is, when it's not just selfies, this is the vulnerability of like a sexy picture. You know what I mean? So
Mhm.
it's even more stripped down, and it teaches us that all the things that we generally pick on, and let's be real, the affirmation comes from your own head, but it's super nice to be validated by our peers. So when you join the girl gang or whatever it is of women who have done this, you're a member of this little society of people who have been in your shoes, understand where you were to get there, what you went through, and support
Mhm.
you on all of your future endeavors. You know what I mean? I love it. Like, so many women I've met through this type of photography, and just empowerment building in general, are women that are also on the same journey as me, whether they've overcome all types of adversity in life or not.
Yeah.
So again, going back to women that I know that have personally transformed, it mostly comes in the form of tolerance and what we'll let go of on the single side. On the married side, it's a form of control. Okay. And that is something that a lot of us lose in our partnership, is we want to have that
Interesting.
feeling of, yes, we want to have that feeling of power. We want to be sexy. We want to be, we want to know we still got it. And when you're a
Mhm.
mom and every day you're going to bed and you're putting on your bonnet or whatever, and you're freaking, your legs are hairy and you're sitting there with your hairy armpits and your boobs are on side to side, you
Yeah.
don't feel like that when you're laying next to your husband.
That sounds like me 21st century.
Yes. Honey, girl, I am not kidding. Let me tell you. So, from that side, it gives you back your confidence and your power, where you are like, I want to be in control. I want to have that feeling
Yeah.
of where I can show my husband or my partner or my wife, whatever, something and say, look at what I can do. And they're like, you can. And that again just reaffirms, it sets off that dopamine, it gives off those receptors. There's neuroscience behind this. There's so much development in the pathways of our brain that are built on negativity. So we look in the mirror and we tell ourselves negative things. We go, oh, look at that roll, look at that, underarm fat, or look at my lines that are under my eyes, or look at this frown line in my forehead. So having
Mhm.
all those moments where we have little injections of positive things related to our body and
Mhm.
related to our self-esteem that way help
Yeah.
balance out and create new patterns in our brain, so we start to think that way instead of all that negative stuff that we are so accustomed to.
Amazing. Amazing. So,
I love what I
uh,
do.
yeah. No, I can tell that. I can tell that. So, I have one question.
Go ahead, please
What
do.
what if so what is the most consistent why where your clients come to you? So why do they mostly come to you?
The most consistent why
Yes.
is women are looking to get a boost of confidence. They don't feel
Mm.
good about themselves. They've
Yeah.
either lost that spark or they need an injection in their soul. We all do the things. We go to retreats, we go
Yeah.
to restaurants to eat, we go out to drink, but it doesn't last. You don't get
Mhm.
that long feeling of, you might go back and look at your Facebook
Yeah.
memories, and that's cute and that's fun, but that's not something that you're going to say, I really achieved that. I climbed that mountain of faith and courage.
Mhm.
I got butt naked in front of the girl. No, I'm just kidding. But they're like, I did my thing, and I have a moment that I can say I did that.
Yeah.
And a funny story is my grandmother's 84 years old. About 3 years ago, we were going through all of their storage stuff and we found a bunch of old pictures. And we found modeling pictures from my grandmother when she must have been like under 20 years old. It was between like 18 and 23. We know that because she couldn't
Wow.
remember exactly, but she was estimating. And those images they weren't like boudoir photos, but they were definitely tight dresses, very provocative poses for the
Yeah.
30s, 40s, 50s, or whatever that was. And I felt something hit me where, a lot of people are worried, what are my kids going to think when they see these? What are people going to think when they see these? And I felt that moment of empowerment through her experiences where I was
Mhm.
living through her in that moment. And we all clapped. We were so happy. We were like, wow! We were like shaking the pictures around. We all got out our phones and took pictures of the pictures. And it
Oh, that's
provided that,
amazing.
yes. And you know what? In that moment, she was also transported back to that courage, to that place of being like, yes, I did that. I did that, and we
Yeah.
were so proud of her. It's great. It's definitely a camaraderie that you have with women when you've joined this
Mhm.
little, this thing where we manifest shit, girl. We are like, this is what I want to happen. Then all of a sudden you're seeing the photographer on your TikTok. Then all of a
Yeah.
sudden, you're sending an email, and then you're in the studio, and then you're getting that new job that you want, or you're getting that new man you want, or you're taking control back in your relationship, or you're feeling more deeply intimately connected to your husband or your partner because you have been vulnerable. And that sometimes is a hard place for us to get to when
Yeah. It is.
we're hard, you know what I'm saying? We are regimented, we're ships, we're trains. I tell my husband all the time, the train is going, jump on, or we're going to run you over, because literally, like, we're not going to stop. We have to do what we have to do. And
Yeah.
sometimes I feel that outer shell, it's like a layer of hairspray. I'm just building it on, and it's like tight, and I
Yeah.
have to crack that shell sometimes and say, I can be feminine, I can be soft, I can be vulnerable, but also look at how this has a pull over my partner,
Mhm. But it is
which is great.
perception too. So let's talk about perception, because I
Yes,
feel like a lot of people, all these confidence issues, and all these things that happen, and all these shell behavior that women experience is created by our own surroundings, right? Because we are afraid of what
absolutely.
people is going to think and how others perceived us. So tell me about perception, how
So
going through this breaks that chain of perception.
exactly. I love it. 80% of the women come to me unsure whether or not they want their images to be shared because
Mm,
they are not sure that they are confident that their partners are going to be 100% secure, that their jobs are going to be 100% secure, that they're not going to be judged. So that perception comes from situations that have happened before, right?
yeah,
But the more people that do this, the more people that go through this experience, we form this bond and this chain of people that are saying, yes, and we handshake each other, we pat each other on the back. So what's happened is a lot of women that have done it see their images, speak with their friends, and when they share their experience, we're all like, "Oh my gosh, me too. I did it too, girl." And then you feel this boost
yeah,
of energy and acceptance and confidence to share your images. So
yeah,
a lot of the times people don't know that they are going to feel confident enough to do this until they are going through the experience, sharing it with other people, or have shared them, just
yeah,
took a leap, and we're like, you know what, forget it, I'm going to go ahead and share it. And then all the people that are in their comment sections going, wow,
yeah,
like down to like their great aunt who, from South Carolina, who's 75 years old, who they never thought would applaud them for this, are co-signing. I think a lot of it is built up in our heads, those same stereotypes where if we don't look a certain way, we it's not okay for us to do that. But all of our celebrity crushes can do it. You know what I mean? And we applaud Martha Stewart when she gets on the cover of
mhm,
Sports Illustrated at 81 years old in a bikini and is like, you know what I mean?
yeah,
Or whatever, in a bathing suit. We applaud her. So it's a part of my mission to help open the door for women, and then the woman behind them holds the door open.
mhm,
Okay, so you may not have felt 100% comfortable going into your experience, but I open the door for you. And by the time you leave, you're opening the door for the next person, because a lot of the women that come to me end up being, like I said, 100% okay with sharing the images. Some
yeah,
women I completely understand. You're not okay with it. It's not okay. No matter what the perception is, that you're afraid of being out there. Rules are rules, when you can't share them, that's fine. But a lot of the times we break those glass ceilings. We tell ourselves we can't do it, we shouldn't do it. And then when we do, and we actually get that little bit of courage, because it's all in line. It's like kind of like a small snowball that leads to an avalanche of courage. We start up top with the email to me about, wanting to know about a session, and they go all the way through the process. And by the time they get to the end, we're a ball so big that you can't stop us. We're busting through the door. We're sharing our
Yeah.
pictures, and we don't care what anyone thinks anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I totally agree with you. That's amazing. So you have shared a lot about your why, a lot about, what you do, your business, and you share a lot about your story, a little bit about your story. I guess my last question for you
Sure.
is, who does Ashley wants to become, right? Because we are
Ooh.
still a work in progress.
Yes, absolutely.
And what is that she's hoping to achieve by helping all these women?
Oof, that's
Take your
that's
time. You don't have to
that's
answer
great.
like
Okay, I'm
in two
I'm thinking
seconds,
about it, but
Think
but
about it because, yeah.
right away, my mind went to a place where when I was a child, I didn't believe in myself. So I want to be a pillar for women who come from a background of poverty, from abuse, from, all of the things horrible that can happen to a child where she's still able to accomplish and be sexual without being sexualized or victimized in those moments. Because
Mhm.
that's what so many women go through is they don't see a person who feels confident, who has been through all of that trauma. I'm
Mhm.
on a
Mhm.
podcast. Sorry, see, here we go. Hey,
That's
mama,
okay.
through the
My
through the
daughter will come
window.
down soon too.
Okay. But the idea
One
is
down.
I
We have two to go.
exactly. Exactly, right? So yeah, my other two, one is over there at the bike park, the other one is hopefully on a device. But ultimately, I want to be a place where young women, old women, women of all ages, colors, women who are transitioning, women who are non-conforming, where they can look at someone and say, if she can do it, so can I. If she can
Mhm.
do it, so can I. So, a pillar of strength, a role model. My ultimate goal is I would love to host retreats for women to come and have a transformational experience that involved some sort of, spiritual awakening as well as a photo shoot transformation.
I
That's where
love
my life, I see my direction going.
and
It's so much more.
you will get there. That's
Thank
the
you so
most
much.
that's the most amazing thing, right? Like, we hope a lot, but we know we are capable. So you will get there.
Absolutely.
It might not be tomorrow, but you will get there. And if it happens tomorrow, hey, we're gonna take
That's
it.
great. Listen, I'm not complaining in any way, shape, or form. All I'm hoping is that I can be, like I said, the hand that pulls somebody up the hill, that gives them the courage that they need to then
Mhm.
follow my footsteps and say, just because I went through XYZ or just because I didn't come from anything or I was poor growing up doesn't mean that I can't be a person who expresses their sexuality, takes
Yeah.
control of their life, and feels empowered. That's my
Mhm.
ultimate goal. My ultimate goal.
Amazing. Amazing. Well, Ashley, thank you so much for sharing your story, sharing why, you're helping so many women, and overall, just for continuing empowering these amazing ladies that we know have it within them, right? Like, so I think it's extremely, extremely important the work you do. And
Thank you so
I
much,
told you
Monica.
this like 2 weeks ago, but I was like, I'm gonna try it because my husband has like a gaming room, and what did I tell you? I was like, I
Yes,
want you to
girl.
have 1, 2, 3 pictures. Think of me while you're
Yes,
playing
girl.
video games.
Yes, girl. And let me tell you something. Every single fancy house, like every single huge mansion I've ever been in, that lady has a naked picture of herself somewhere in that mofo. Let me tell you, that is not a lie. So
I
I'm
love
telling
it.
you, listen, we have built all of these boxes around ourselves to say we can't do, we shouldn't
Yeah,
do. And I'm here to tell you why not. Go for it. It's great.
yeah.
And that same energy you take in that courage and that moment, you take it into other aspects of your life.
I love it. So before we go, please let the
Yes.
public know and our listeners today. Thank you so much for listening to us. Where
Thank
can they
you.
find you? We're gonna put everything on the show notes, but I want to make sure that they know where to find you and
Absolutely.
the right reason of why to find you.
Okay, so if you are looking for that something to spark your soul, something to reinvigorate your life, you want to be rejuvenated, re-energized, you're in the process of a transformation, a boudoir shoot is perfect for you. It's going to help seal the deal on your confidence and push you over the edge when it comes to getting to that next phase of your life. You can find me online at glowslayplay.com or on Instagram at glow.slay.play, and also on Facebook at my Facebook group is called Women Learning to Love Themselves in Pictures. So that's something I'm super proud of. And that whole process, the Baddie Boot Camp. We've also got ebooks. We've got a whole bunch of places that you can find us, but mostly we are on TikTok at Ashley Nardello. So my first and last name, Ashley Nardello. Find us. You'll see a bunch of stories there. You'll find a bunch of inspiration and reasons that this might fit you, even if you think it doesn't. Some of the reasons that would really, really shock you are because it's going to rebuild your brain the way you think. So I'm so happy to be here. Thank you so much, Monica, for your time.
Thank you so much for being here, Ashley. I love it, and we will be collaborating soon. Thanks, everybody.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Ciao.
Ciao.